We're going in 3, 2, 1.
What is up, everyone? Tay here. And as I said in the last video, today we have to discuss some of the bigger news and different plot leaks that have been dropping lately for Avengers Doomsday. Because just like a week ago, Kevin Feige did this huge roundtable interview with multiple different outlets where he revealed a lot of stuff regarding Marvel's future and current plans. And this was very noteworthy because a lot of what Feige said tied directly into many of the different reports and different cast leaks we've heard for Doomsday. So yeah, we're going to be breaking down all of that. But first, before we get into it, if you missed my last video on Fantastic Four First Steps and Avengers Doomsday, you should definitely check that out. It's linked in the description down below. And then we do have just one or two super thanks questions to get to at the very end of the video. So watch until the end for those. And just a quick update on the super thanks. I think I'm going to be changing the way I do the super thanks questions, where instead of answering super thanks questions and comments every video or every other video, I'm just going to save all of the super thanks for a video that I will do at the end of each month. So any super thanks we have from the last video, I will respond to today. But then after that, any super thanks from today's video or the next few videos, I will save and respond to at the end of August. So on that note, if you would like to leave a super thanks with a question or a comment on today's video, and we will cover all of those in a special video at the end of August. But anyways, enough with all the introductory stuff, and let's jump into it.
We're losing credibility.
Yeah, but we had very little to begin with.
And now there's this huge space crisis and no one's telling us about it.
Extra-dimensional ship entering atmosphere.
Extra-dimensional? What does that mean?
Wow. It's a cool ship.
Alright, so like I said in the intro, Kevin Feige recently did a huge roundtable interview with a bunch of different outlets where he revealed a whole bunch of different crazy details about Marvel Studios' future and current plans. And some of what he revealed during this roundtable interview were some surprisingly candid details on what's happening with Avengers Doomsday. Because one of the things he confirmed is that the incursions will be a huge part of the plot for Doomsday, just like they were in the Time Runs Out and Secret Wars comics. Now, of course, this shouldn't be a huge shocker because we've all expected that the incursions would be a huge part of the story, but still, having that detail confirmed by Kevin Feige and even comparing the plot of Doomsday to what happened in the comics is a pretty significant thing to have confirmed, in my opinion. However, one of the other big details that I was pretty surprised that Kevin Feige revealed is that at some point during the plot of Avengers Doomsday, we will be returning to several central locations from past MCU films, and that one of the big locations we'll see again is Earth 828, the 1960s timeline that was just introduced in Fantastic Four First Steps. However, the part that I was surprised that Feige revealed is that not only will we see that universe again, but he also said that there will be a particular scene in Doomsday that will occur in the Fantastic Four's kitchen of the Baxter Building that will also include a large group of Avengers, with the article specifically singling out Sam, Yelena, Thor, and Namor as some of the characters that will be present during that scene. And I found that to be a quite noteworthy detail for Feige to reveal, because not only does it give us some pretty big hints at what could happen in Doomsday, but it also reveals some stuff that ties into some of these big Avengers Doomsday plot leaks. Because some of the leaks that have dropped recently, as well as ones that have been dropping over the past few months, described a lot of very similar details. And those included that the Russo brothers were currently filming scenes using some of the same sets from the Fantastic Four, as well as TVA sets from both Loki and Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, I'm going to come back to the TVA sets a bit later in the video, but first I wanted to talk about what Feige said regarding the incursions and the Avengers in the Baxter Building. Because like I said, there's been tons of various different Doomsday leaks that have been dropping for a while now from, different scoopers, including Daniel Richman, Unlucky Singer, as well as some detailed leaks from James Mack, who has shown himself to be quite reliable with his accurate leaks for both Ironheart and Fantastic Four. And what some of these leaks have said is that early on in Doomsday, we will see a scene where Shuri is working in her lab in Wakanda when she discovers anomalies with the fabric of reality that lead to her discovering that universes are colliding all across the multiverse, and that there is a universe that is on a collision course with the MCU 616 universe. Now, apparently, at around the same time that this is happening in the movie, we'll also see the Fantastic Four's arrival into the 616 universe, where they are intercepted by the New Avengers, picking up shortly after the post-credit scene of the Thunderbolts. And it says that once the Fantastic Four meet the New Avengers, that they will basically ask them for help and proceed to tell them how they have come to this universe searching for their son Franklin, who has been kidnapped by a powerful villain named Doctor Doom. And apparently what'll happen is that with Bucky and Yelena still being fairly new to avenging, still being green, that they won't really know what to do in this situation, so Bucky will swallow his pride and reach out to Sam for help. And based on various different reports that dropped that detailed how Sam Jackson has recently come back to film some scenes for Avengers Doomsday, it sounds like what we could see happen is that Nick Fury could end up acting as an intermediator between Sam and Bucky to help them realize that they need to put aside their differences and work together for the safety of the world. So it sounds like for the time being, or at least for the events of this movie, that Sam and Bucky will agree to work together to help the Fantastic Four find their son and to also stop Doctor Doom. And this seems to line up with what'll be happening with Shuri, because it says that once Shuri discovers the incursions, that she calls a meeting and assembles Earth's mightiest heroes to Wakanda, which will include Sam, Wong, Bruce, and Carol, along with Namor, M'Baku, Thor, Bucky, Yelena, and the Fantastic Four. And it says that once these heroes arrive in Wakanda, that Shuri proceeds to tell them about the incursions and how there is another universe that is on a crash course with the 616 universe, and that she has also detected that a person from the 616 universe is somehow living in this other world. And when Carol hears this, she immediately puts together that this person must be Monica Rambeau, and it's then revealed that the other world that is about to collide with Earth 616 is the X-Men universe that we saw at the end of the Marvels. And apparently, once Reed sees this technology that Shuri has to somehow track personal signatures across the multiverse, he then gets the idea to use this technology to search the multiverse for Franklin, and he discovers that both Franklin and Doctor Doom are also in this other universe, that they are in this X-Men universe. So yeah, apparently what happens is once all of this is revealed, all of the heroes put together a mission plan with 3 objectives: to travel to this other universe and save both Monica and Franklin, and to stop the incursions and defeat Doctor Doom. However, before they go on this mission, they'll of course need reinforcements. So Sam calls in the rest of his Avengers squad, which will include Shang-Chi, She-Hulk, and Ant-Man, and then Bucky and Yelena also call in Bob, while Wong, the other Wakandans, and the rest of the New Avengers stay behind on Earth to protect it from other multiversal invaders who have yet to be specified. And that's a very interesting topic right there that I want to talk about in one of my next videos, because I think that'll be another huge part of the Doomsday plot, but we'll just save that for right now. So yeah, but anyways, so the characters that will reportedly be going on this mission to the X-Men universe, past leaks that I've discussed have referred to this team as the Invincible Avengers. And as I detailed, this will reportedly include Sam's Avengers, the Fantastic Four, Thor, Bucky, Yelena, and Bob, along with Shuri, Namor, and M'Baku. And as I've discussed in past videos, once this team comes together, they will reportedly travel to this other divergent X-Men universe, and we will see this huge battle take place at the X-Mansion with the X-Men battling against this gigantic Avengers team. But according to these newer leaks, it sounds like at some point during this big battle, that the Avengers and the X-Men will come to the realization that they are being manipulated and pitted against each other by Doctor Doom, and that this was all a part of his bigger plan that also has to do with Loki and the TVA. Now, I'll come back to that in a second, but first I wanted to talk about what Kevin Feige said about the incursions and the 828 universe returning in Avengers Doomsday, and how that seems to line up with these different leaks. Because Feige not only said that Earth 828 would return in Avengers Doomsday, but he also said that there would be a scene that occurs in the Baxter Building that would include a lot of different characters and Avengers, with the article specifically noting that Sam, Thor, Yelena, and Namor would be some of the characters that would be present in that scene. And that detail specifically stood out to me because those are all characters that are mentioned in these leaks as characters that will be included on this mission to the X-Men universe. Because as we know, there are going to be a ton of other characters who will also be appearing in Avengers Doomsday besides the ones who will be a part of this mission that I just listed. I mean, there's Peter Parker, Doctor Strange, the rest of the new Avengers, the Young Avengers characters that could show up, among numerous others. So in my opinion, all of these comments that Feige made regarding the incursions and Earth 828, on top of the specific characters who were mentioned as a part of this Baxter Building scene, seems to give all these leaks an extra layer of credibility as likely being accurate. So I think what we could likely see happen in Doomsday is that the Avengers and the Fantastic Four could end up returning to the 828 universe at some point on this mission into the X-Men universe. Now, that still wouldn't explain why they go back to the 828 universe, but it is possible that it could be some kind of side quest to get supplies or something before they go to the X-Men universe. But what I think is probably more likely is that they will go to the 828 universe after this battle with the X-Men. Because based on everything we've heard, it sounds like the final battle of Avengers Doomsday is going to take place in the TVA and at Loki's throne at the end of time. And according to different past leaks that have been out there, what's going to happen after the Avengers and the X-Men realize that they've been manipulated by Doctor Doom and that Doom's true goal involves invading the TVA and usurping Loki so he can take control of the multiverse, is that the X-Men will actually end up joining forces with the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, and as a group, they will all travel to the TVA together to try and stop Doctor Doom. And that actually lines up with some set videos that were just dropped online. Because there were some set videos that were released just recently from, I believe it was Chris Hemsworth's stunt double, that show that the Russo brothers were recently filming scenes in what appeared to be the doorway of the time loom at the TVA. And it's interesting that this is the location where they seem to be filming, because back at the end of Loki Season 2, this is the location where Loki left the TVA from and then used his magic to open a gateway to the end of time. So perhaps the reason we are seeing this location again in Avengers Doomsday is because maybe Doctor Doom will basically do the same thing. That once he battles his way through the TVA and makes it to the time loom, he could then use his own magic to open a gateway to Loki at the end of time. But anyways, the bigger point is though, is that after seeing these new TVA set videos, that's just another detail that does make it look more likely that these different leaks we've heard about the final battle occurring at the TVA are likely accurate. But the thing is that for the heroes of this movie to reach the TVA, that will be no easy feat. Because so far in the MCU, the only way we've ever seen anybody reach the TVA is through a TemPad. So perhaps the reason that we'll see the Avengers on Earth 828 is because after this battle that occurs at the X-Mansion, we could see members of the Avengers, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four all traveling back to the Baxter Building on Earth 828 so that Reed can build some kind of technology that they need to reach the TVAs. That basically he needs to build his own version of a TemPad. Or another possibility is maybe the 828 universe is where Avengers Doomsday will end. Because after seeing Latveria being referenced in Fantastic Four First Steps, on top of Doctor Doom's appearance in the post-credit scene, it's looking more and more likely that Doctor Doom will also be from the 828 universe, just like the Fantastic Four are. And something else that has also been referenced in recent leaks is that Avengers Doomsday is going to end with Doctor Doom being victorious and the final incursion destroying what's left of the multiverse. But one thing that these leaks also said is that Doctor Doom may try and save one singular timeline so he can rule over that reality as its god. And if Doctor Doom is from the 828 universe, then I think it would make sense that that might be the universe he would try to save because it's his home reality. So another possibility of what we might see happen is maybe the Fantastic Four and the Avengers will end up following Doctor Doom back to the 828 universe after the incursions have destroyed the rest of the multiverse, and that this is actually the location where the movie will end, thus setting up the events of Avengers Secret Wars. But anyways, regardless of what happens, based on everything that Kevin Feige has said in these recent interviews, it sounds like he is super excited about using the 828 universe once again in Avengers Doomsday, and that this universe will likely end up being a pretty important location at some point in the movie. Plus, if Doom really is from Earth 828 like we've been speculating he is, then in all likelihood we will also most likely see some flashback scenes on Earth 828 to what Doctor Doom's backstory and origins are. In fact, something I wanted to mention in the last video that I just kind of forgot about is a while back when Avengers Doomsday first started filming, one of the first leaked set photos and leaked set videos we saw was of who appeared to be Robert Downey Jr. in a suit walking into this little old house that was originally titled as 60s House. Now, after these set videos leaked online and the Russo brothers found out about this, they started changing the set title out in front of the house to throw people off the scent to like Iron Fist House and Luke Cage House, stuff that didn't really make sense. So what we are seeing being filmed in this scene with who appears to be Robert Downey Jr., again, we only see him from behind, but that's who it looks like to me, could be some kind of flashback or something like that to Doctor Doom's backstory on Earth 828. So yeah, that was just something I wanted to bring up real quick since I forgot to mention it in the last video. But anyways, let's move on now because there is still quite a bit of stuff I want to talk about before we go regarding some other stuff that was mentioned in these new leaks and how it ties into some other stuff that Kevin Feige said and also some of the other leaks and scoops that came out earlier this year.
Mr. Wilson, to tell you that you're special. In fact, you've been chosen for a higher purpose, a purpose unclear even to me, but one that could save the entire sacred timeline from a possibly grisly fate sometime in the future, which may very well need to be avenged.
All right, so something I wanted to go back to real quick were these Avengers Doomsday set photos and videos that we saw from the TVA set and how that ties into what these various leaks have said about the TVA and the final battle of the movie. Because I know I was just speculating that perhaps Reed will be the one who takes the team to the TVA, that he might have to build some kind of temp pad type device capable of opening a portal to the TVA. However, based on some of the other recent leaks we've heard, that might not be necessary. Because according to other scoops by James Mack, Sophia DiMartino was recently on the set of Doomsday filming some scenes with different members of the Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four. And just around a month ago, Sophia DiMartino herself actually made a post on Instagram implying that she was either on the set of Avengers Doomsday or was about to be on the set, and she then quickly deleted that post shortly after putting it up. But what has come out regarding Sylvie in these new leaks is that at some point during or after the battle at the X-Mansion, Sylvie will show up and she will actually be the one who takes certain members of the Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four to the TVA so that they can try to save Loki from Doctor Doom. And this is actually something that I theorized on a long time ago when Avengers 5 was still titled Kang Dynasty. Because it always made sense to me that either Sylvie or Mobius would be the ones to reach out to the Avengers and let them know about what's happening with Loki. Because something that I think everyone needs to remember about Loki's role in Doomsday is that as far as we know, none of the Avengers are actually aware of anything that's happened with Loki. They don't know about him working with the TVA, and they definitely don't know about him making the ultimate sacrifice to save the multiverse. And with Loki being the one who's physically there watching over the multiverse from the end of time, he can't very well leave himself to go and warn heroes around the multiverse about what's happening. He would need someone else to do that. And like I said, the two characters I always thought made the most sense to do that for him would be Sylvie or Mobius. And I actually think that Sylvie's involvement in the movie could actually tie into something that we've heard in some of the older leaks. Because according to some of the leaks that came out earlier this year, once we get to the third act of Avengers Doomsday and the big final battle at the TVA, this is apparently when we will see some of the other really big cameos in the movie, because it will then supposedly be revealed that the TVA have also been busy assembling a new team of multiversal heroes to help them in their quest to protect Loki. So if this is true, then it basically sounds like the TVA will be assembling their own multiversal Avengers team. And this really shouldn't be a huge surprise, because there was actually a multiversal Avengers team that played a significant role in the lead up to Secret Wars in the comics. But like I said, if these leaks are accurate, then it sounds like we won't actually see this team appear in the movie until the big final battle, until the third act. Now, we haven't heard which specific characters will be on this team, because my guess is that it will kind of depend on which actors are available. But what I've theorized on is that this could be how Wade and Logan will return in Avengers Doomsday. That they won't actually appear during the big X-Men battle, but that they'll actually be working with the TVA. Because this is something that was actually hinted at twice back in Deadpool and Wolverine. The first time was when Paradox tried to recruit Wade to work as a protector for the Sacred Timeline, and then it was hinted at again at the end of the movie when B-15 tells Wade and Logan that their work together was just getting started. However, another theory that I've had is that this could also be how Chris Evans and Haley Atwell could return, at least in part. Because as we know, The Hollywood Reporter already confirmed that Chris Evans and Haley Atwell would be returning for Avengers Doomsday. And while both Chris Evans and Marvel Studios have tried to play coy about this, The Hollywood Reporter are the most reliable source out there when it comes to things like casting reports like this. So it seems pretty certain that Chris Evans and Haley Atwell will be in the movie. And something we've also heard is that when it comes to certain actors like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, that they will most likely be appearing to portray numerous different roles in both Doomsday and Secret Wars. And one of the things that we've heard for Chris Evans is that he could have a smaller appearance in these movies in a more villainous role, like probably Captain Hydra, but that his primary role in these movies will be as Steve Rogers returning from the 616 universe, but now going under the moniker of Nomad. And I know all of you guys have heard this because this is something that's been reported for a long time now from multiple sources, even including Jeff Snyder, who, like him or not, has confirmed numerous very big casting reports for the MCU over the past year, including having the early scoop on Robert Downey Jr. returning to play Doctor Doom. And when it comes to Chris Evans, there was actually a news scoop from my time where she said that something she heard recently was that there was actually an earlier plan for a different post-credit scene in Fantastic Four First Steps that would have shown Chris Evans returning as Nomad, showing up on Earth 828 to warn the Fantastic Four about the coming multiversal catastrophes. Now, obviously that didn't end up happening, but if this is true and this was something that they were thinking about or almost filmed, then just that alone is pretty interesting because it reveals that what we've heard about Chris Evans returning as Nomad is likely legitimate. And what I've theorized on in the past is that perhaps the TVA will be the key to how both Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter return for Avengers Doomsday. That they could be two of the characters who are recruited by the TVA to be members of this multiversal Avengers team. Because for one thing, we know that the TVA would be capable of doing this, that they would be capable of going back in time to retrieve both Steve and Peggy from the 1940s while they were still young, and would likely be able to convince them that they need their help to save the multiverse. And if this were the case, then this could also line up with this new scoop about the earlier plans to possibly have Steve Rogers show up to warn the Fantastic Four. Because if that was something that Marvel Studios were possibly going to do, then how would that have worked? How would Steve Rogers have gotten to the 828 universe? Well, one explanation would be the TVA. Because if Steve Rogers was recruited by the TVA, then he would have that technology. He would have a TemPad that would give him the capabilities to travel to the 828 universe. Plus, another reason why I think it would make a lot of sense for the TVA to want to recruit Steve Rogers, even though he's not the most powerful character they could get, is because everyone trusts Steve. Even characters from other universes would trust Steve if they knew a Steve Rogers from their universe. So yeah, at this point, it's just a fun theory, but it is one that I think would work really well for the plot of the movie. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think, but I think we can call it here for this one. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did and you would like to like or share the video, that is a great and easy way to help support the channel. And of course, if you are not subscribed to the channel and a big nerd and fan of Marvel and the MCU, then you should subscribe because that is what we talk about here. And then, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we do have just one super thanks from the last video to get to from Gator Chris. And this one says, "Hey Tay, I haven't communicated in quite a while. I just wanted to say how much I loved Fantastic Four First Steps. As a guy whose first comic was Fantastic Four in the 70s, I was actually pretty emotional during the first 15 minutes with the retro 60s and fast history of the team. I really appreciated that they were a well-oiled team at this point, and I thought the movie just flat out cooked. My only small critique was Reed's stretchy power didn't come out that cool like the books, but they can redeem that in the future. I agree it could have been a bit longer. Galactus was awesome, but could have had more dialogue. Maybe The Watcher could have drawn that out. Still, it was a top 5 Marvel movie for me. Love your channel, keep it up." All right, thank you very much, Chris. It's cool to actually hear a comment from you because you leave super thanks on pretty much every video, but I don't remember you actually ever leaving a comment. So I appreciate that, and it's good to hear from you. And yeah, that's awesome you like the movie. Like I said in my review in the last video, I thought the movie was great. I thought I was going to like it, but I liked it even more than I was expecting to. I've actually seen it twice now. I liked it better the second time, which for me is always a really good sign if I like a movie better the second time. But yeah, one thing that I was kind of bummed that they didn't include was The Watcher. The Watcher would have been really cool. It would have fit in really well with Galactus. It would have given us an extra 5 or 10 minutes of screen time. And my favorite part of the movie was the cosmic stuff in the second act. So seeing The Watcher and kind of expanding that lore with both the cosmic side of the MCU and the multiversal side just would have been really cool. And they could have tied it into Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. But I'm not going to complain because, like I said, love the movie. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Gator Chris. As always, you're awesome, dude. Much appreciated. And to all of you watching, remember that if you would like to leave a super thanks with a question or a comment on this video, that those really help out the channel a lot. And with the new plan, what I'm going to be doing is I will do a specific video just for the super thanks at the end of the month. But anyways, let's wrap it up for this one. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you missed the last video on Fantastic Four and other Avengers Doomsday stuff, check it out. It's linked in the description down below. And I will be back soon with the next one.